friends, Vika here. With Valentine's Day around the corner, I figured I'd give you guys some suggestions about Valentine's Day reads and books you can go on a date with, whether or not you're in a relationship. It does not matter. And so I got my coffee here. I'm going to talk about all these books that I've had dates with. That's so cheesy, but you know, it's okay. I'm cheesy. So our first option is someone or something that will be funny, has a good sense of humor, and help you discover what you're capable of and just bring you on for a ride. And that is The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks by E. Lockhart. And boy, this book was so much fun. It was so funny. And so what this is about, it takes place in a boarding school. It takes in the perspective of a girl named Frankie, short for Frances. And basically over a summer, she basically went through puberty and is now noticeable and considered beautiful. I don't like saying that. Everyone's beautiful. I know that. Whatever. And so she's now more noticeable, and so she starts dating someone, and things just take off from there. She realizes there's things that she's being like hidden from, things are being kept from her, and her ex-boyfriend is trying to get back, and it's just like on for a whole ride. She just takes matters into her own hands and deals with things and tries to prove that she is capable of basically anything, and it was just so funny. There's lots of good pranks and fun in here, and it was just so good. And if you just want a good laugh this Valentine's Day, I highly suggest The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks. So, you know, the funny, book isn't for everyone. So if you are more into, the adventurous and some mysterious and like a love triangle, I highly recommend The Kiss of Deception, which I don't have. I just have the other books in the trilogy. My sister's borrowing Kiss of Deception, and she still hasn't read it and still hasn't given it back. I want it back. And so what Kiss of Deception is about is it is about a girl who's a princess, and she is arranged into a marriage that she does not want to be in. She feels useless, and she has never met the other guy, the prince, and she wants to, and she just has had it enough. She's fed up, and so she runs away on the day of her wedding, and she basically goes into hiding, and so she takes on a new identity. And the prince, he's feels super scorned and whatever, and he goes after her. He goes try to find her, track her down, but there's a neighboring kingdom. He also they don't want this marriage to happen because this alliance will happen between these two kingdoms, so there's an assassin sent after her. And this whole novel takes in the perspective of the princess, the assassin, and the prince, but you don't know who the prince is and you don't know who the assassin is until the very end. So you're basically seeing in their eyes, and you're wondering who is gonna betray her, and it's just so much fun, and you're just stuck in this weird triangle, and you don't know who's who. You don't know if and then you're rooting for these people, and you don't know if you're actually rooting for an assassin or a prince, and you don't find out till the end. And it's just it's so much fun. It's a good adventure, and there's a lot of good lightheartedness along the way. But that being said, it's a trilogy, and the last book is so much different from where the first book will take you. There's a lot more political intrigue that happens and other stuff. And yeah, I really love this series. It's one of my all-time favorites, hands down, one of my all-time favorites. And so that being said, some people want an epic love story. So that was just fun and mysterious, adventurous. But what about the people who need all the drama, everything that can happen, something super, just an epic love story? None other than Gone with the Wind by, why am I forgetting? Margaret Mitchell, by Margaret. This book is a monster. It is a monster, but you will not regret it. I feel like anyone who's ever read it will tell you it's one of their all-time favorite novels, and it is so good. It kind of starts out slow, but it is so good. It takes place during the Civil War era, and there is lots of slavery and racism, but there's also lots of sexism, and just everything in here is you have to be mindful of it. Just understand not everything is the way it is anymore, and be glad of that. but it is so, so good. It is so, so epic and heart-wrenching. And like the last 100 pages, my jaw was just on the floor the entire time. I was like, I knew this was coming, but epic. It is heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, and it'll take you on for a ride. And you know, this is probably not a book you can finish in time for Valentine's Day. It took me a long time. It'll probably take you a long time. It takes everyone a long time, but it is good. Next, if you want just some cheesy romance, you want to go on a date with a book that's like, okay, this is so much fun. This is just so like stereotypical date, everything you see on TV. You want the drama. I suggest The Selection by Kira Cass. This book, I really don't like this book, but it's like, you can't not stop once you start it. It's just so bad, but it's so good. It's like eating candy, you know? Like, you know you shouldn't be eating it, but you do. It's gonna give you cavities. It is not good for you, but it's fun. And so what basically sums up this book is it's a royal version of The Bachelor. Literally, they gathered like 20 girls from throughout the land, and they're competing for the hand of the prince. If that doesn't tell you how much cheese and how much drama this is, I don't know what will. That's literally all there is to it. Next book is if you want something more little lighthearted, more real contemporary, realistic fiction that will is more moody, and I suggest The Summer I Turned Pretty. This is also one of my favorite series. It's by Jenny Han, and so for Jenny Han, she wrote P.S. I Love You and To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I haven't read those, but I have read the Summer trilogy, and it is so good. I've reread this a couple times. Maybe, I don't know if I reread it now at this age. I don't know if I'll still like it, but basically, The Summer I Turned Pretty, if it doesn't tell you in the title, is this girl. She goes through every summer. She and her family go to this beach house with her mom's college roommate, basically her best friend, and they own this beach house. And so her mom's best friend, she has two sons, Jeremy and Conrad. And if you're Team Jeremy or Team Conrad, if you've read this book, let me know who you root for. I was Team Conrad, but I was also Team Jeremy, and I don't know. That's beside the point. Basically, there's two boys, and she has transformed over the school year, and she has now turned pretty. You seeing a common theme in these books? Like, you're pretty before, but just basically she's more noticeable. And stuff happens this summer. She's now old enough, and her older brother is not there with her, so he's there to protect her and keep her out of trouble like he usually does. And so she's basically on her own at this beach house, and there's a lot of drama, and so there's a love triangle, and it was just sweet and it was good. And as you go on, there's more I don't know, there's more serious issues and everything, and it was good. It's sweet if you want just something lighthearted, and it's something you can relate to. I suggest that. Next is if you want you want to go on a date with a real story, and that's something that's just gonna warm your heart and give you faith back in humanity. I suggest Tattoos on the Tattoos on the Heart by Gregory Boyle. I actually read this for a theology class, and I loved this book. So basically, it's about this one Jesuit pastor or priest. He lives in LA, and he starts this whole mission, and he works with the gangsters in LA, and this is just some of the stories of what has happened and his experiences. And each chapter is a different story that's happened, and it's just so sweet. It is so heart-wrenching, and it's a true story, and it was just so good. The subtitle is The Power of Boundless Compassion, and so that is just so good. I recommend this to anyone, whether or not you have believe in Christianity or not. It's a good heartwarming read, you know. And last but definitely not least, if you want to go on a date with someone who has a bit of spunk in the Victorian era, I suggest Storm and Silence by Robert Tier. Now this book I first started reading on Wattpad and has now been published. It has had sequels and everything. And what this is about is this girl, Lily. She basically lives in the Victorian era and she wishes that she wants to go vote. And so she dresses up like her uncle. She goes and she gets discovered, but before she gets discovered, she comes across this one man and he's doing a business transaction. She basically helps him out and he basically offers her a job, and much to his dismay, he finds out she's a woman after she gets arrested. This is on the first chapter. This sets it up. And it's just so fun, so funny. This is like a slow burn kind of romance, and ooh, it was good. It is like crack. Also, I can't, like, it is a monster. I'm sure it's still free on Wattpad. Like, just make a Wattpad account and you can find this book for free, but at least the 10 chapters, and see if you're interested in that. It was just funny and it was good and I loved it. I loved it. And actually, one last book. If, you know, some people, they just want a good cry on Valentine's Day. And if that's you, I suggest Why We Broke Up by Daniel Hadler. Or Hadler? I can't remember. I don't have the actual copy of the book, but Why We Broke Up was so sad. It was like a doomed romance because you go into the book knowing that this couple broke up, and this girl, she's writing letters to her ex-boyfriend describing the reasons why they broke up, and with each letter is attached an object from like little things they've collected, so like bottle caps or like a receipt or something, movie ticket stubs, and like within each like object is a story behind why they broke up. So it's like that. It sounds super cheesy, and it's kind of cheesy, but it's like, wow. I related with the main girl, Min, and it was good. Like, I don't know, if you just want to cry and like relate to something, I just kind of self-insert myself into every single book I read, especially if like the main character has brunette hair. So I imagined myself as Min, and I was like, you hurt me the whole time. And I read that on the plane. I was going to New Zealand and I was just like crying, and it was a mess. But I want a good cry, a breakup story for Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day, you know what? You need every single day of the year to be loved. You don't need an excuse for one day. If you're just celebrating it love one day of the year, you're doing something wrong. So if you want to reminisce on that, I kind of suggest Why We Broke Up. And those are all the books I suggest. Do you have a favorite love story? Let me know in the comments below. Are you reading anything for Valentine's Day? Or do you guys have any plans for Valentine's Day? I want to know. Leave me stuff in the comments below, I guess. So bye now. It's been a good coffee date with y'all.